sure I get this. Oh, okay. Okay. Hi, everybody. Trying to plug in my phone. I should have done it before I pressed the button. Um, Today is May 5th because it is almost 2 o'clock in the morning, but it can't be helped. It is just amazing the information coming in and all the work that we're doing behind the scenes. So much is happening, and it's positive. It's very, very, very positive. So let me explain it all to you. May 5th, 2026, and we are at 2,101 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss, right on the borderland in El Paso, Texas, because he was a whistleblower soldier. He was assigned there to Fort Bliss. He was deployed to Qatar, right there in the Strait of Hormuz. He told us it it was so bad that he thought he made a mistake joining the military. That's how bad it was. And he was the Distinguished Honor Graduate for basic training, number one in AIT. It's not like he didn't go in with every great intention, writing a letter of showing his heart in the letter to his grandparents from basic training. How many soldiers do you know write a letter to their grandparents from basic training? I think it's like maybe 1%, maybe 1%. Richard was the 1%. He was so excited. He wanted to be CID, and he went to Qatar and he said, "Oh wow, there's a lot of corruption there, a lot of corruption." Um, so he reported. He talked to his dad, and he knew he had to do the best that he can in the time that he signed to give to his country, and um, and so he reported. He became a whistleblower. And because of that, he became a target. And they retaliated against him continuously and severely. And I mean severely. And I mean continuously. And I think the only other person that understands that really is President Trump, because he's been targeted and continuously and severely um, targeted, retaliated against, operations done against him, the weaponization of our system and our agencies against him. So I really want to talk about that today, because they took Richard um, down to the basement room of his barracks, into the arms room. You have to be like a platoon leader to get into that arms room, okay? Um, the first sergeant, platoon leader. And who are the prime suspects? His platoon leader, okay? And who absolutely are co suspects? Uh, CID agent Tavita Nusa, of course, platoon leader Dallas Hart is the prime suspect. And then you have the first sergeants. So the people that had access to that room. And they took his life, and then they had, because they were part of the cartel, clearly they're part of the cartel or in alliance with the cartel. They were able to, because of the funeral fraud scam that has been going on for a while there, with mortuary operations and all of the trafficking going on base, on our military base against us, fraud, waste, and abuse against the American people, and a huge security breach. They were able to steal Richard's body off of Fort Bliss because they had compromised the director of emergency services, Thomas Kane. We have a letter. Yeah, it's so bad. You wouldn't believe it until you come to this case, and we have so much evidence, um, and there you have it. The DES was compromised, and that's why you have surveillance tampered with, and um, why you have a murdered soldier's body being stolen off of Fort Bliss to be disposed of, trafficked in Juarez, Mexico, crossing the border. And clearly, with what is being revealed today, you see that there's organ harvesting going on, and indications are Richard's organs were harvested, that they try to monetize his remains because that funeral fraud was going on. They were monetizing remains already. You don't have a crematorium like Plenitude, okay, where the owners live in Sausumbraus in El Paso. And if you're German, you know what that means, living the high life in El Paso, while operating a crematorium as part of the funeral, transnational funeral home operation going on that is fraud, more than that, sacrilegious, because they're giving their clients urns full of construction dust while they're keeping these bodies and flesh peddling them. Okay, there's no other word to say it. If it's for the organs, if it's for selling dead bodies to people, to organizations, to institutions, um, and or collecting on unidentified migrant deaths through humanitarian aid. They were monetizing, they were flesh peddling. That's what they were doing. And of course, they're a narco crematorium. And of course, the owners live right next to Beto O'Rourke, um, and absolutely are part of the El Paso cartel with Beto O'Rourke, with Woody Hunt, with Alejandro de la Vega Foster, with Paul Foster, with William Sanders, we with Veronica Escobar. We can go on and on and on, um, because they are not only Democrats, they are Republicans also. Um, because they don't really go by party. They are a cartel. They do what serves the cartel. Okay, that's what they do. They do, if they are a billionaire philanthropist or they have a lot of money, um and they want to throw that money around for their own profit or their own business priorities or whatever, it is for the cartel. It is not for their country, their their love for other people. No, it is all for the cartel. And yeah, so this whole situation of breaches in security was then, especially with Richard's case, when scrutiny came to El Paso, because they were breaching uh, federal jurisdiction all the time there. Okay, they were breaching the federal jurisdiction all the time. They were taking the law into their own hands, making their own. It was like a little invasion of both countries, right? Because they were taking over Mexico, Chihuahua, Mexico, and Texas, New Mexico. They were just taking over Arizona, um, and they were conducting these unauthorized, illegal operations. And I think they still do. I think they absolutely still do. That's why you have two dead CIA agents. And the CIA agents, it's like, what were they doing? Where were they from? Who are they? Right? Because they were operating without proper authorization. So these are rogue agents um, working um, in rogue government, right? In a parallel government. I would say a parallel government. And right now, President Scheinbaum is not having any of it. She is calling it out and calling it out very loud. And this is really, really good news because um, she's calling out Maru Campos and her party is, and they're calling it the treasonous treaty. They're calling it treason. And I've been saying it for a long time that what was going on there in El Paso and Fort Bliss was absolutely treason, because of the compromised generals that we saw and the compromised national security that we saw. My husband's a 30-year veteran. Our life has been, my life too, my dad, 23-year veteran. My life was absolutely always military, military, military. So I know OPSEC. I know report fraud, waste, and abuse. Um, and all we saw when we went there and through our son's case was a breach of security and absolutely no esprit de corps, fear, a lot of fear. I mean, they were afraid. They were horrified. And absolutely we knew that this was treasonous. And I started calling it out very early that this was treasonous. And so, with that scrutiny on El Paso, because of our son's case, I believe they did um, this treasonous treaty because there's more than one, y'all. There's more than one. They've done multiple unlawful agreements between them, between Maru Campos and Texas Governor Abbott. They've done multiple. And so, they tried to legalize, but I think they did the opposite, didn't they? It's kind of like Al Diario today, reading the article about it. Um, you know, you're welcome. You got your little, you're welcome, and maybe, but it is really humorous to read it because he, Oswaldo Barunda, who is, compromised, he's, Juarez cartel. Um, eh, he's trying to defend them, right? Because of course, this whole treasonous treaty gave the cartel access to databases, federal intelligence, control over federal files and cases, such as our sons, gave them access to CIA and FBI agents, gave them access to surveillance, let their trucks, their 18-wheelers go through the border without scrutiny, without the checks. I mean, can you believe it? What an insult. All I was thinking is learning about all this. Of course, you know, it, now how much control cooperation of the cartels on both sides. That's why we had to name the El Paso cartel, because they're on both sides of the border. They're working together in alliance, and how they could take Richard's body over there and do what they do with La Diabla, and then with Cesar Paneche with the siphoning of the fuel, right? And all of the drug trafficking and human trafficking, and also the weapons trafficking, oh my goodness, and all the equipment trafficking. All, there's just so much, because I mean, they have rocket launchers, right? They have grenade launchers. These people aren't, afraid to steal anything. They're just anything that's not bolted down there, they're stealing and trafficking, and creating a parallel government for themselves, for and the for the cartel, for the El Paso cartel, for the Jeffrey Epstein pipeline, for the Mormon faction. That's all part of this, right? That's all part of this. I think the Mormon faction plays a huge role, a huge role. It is such a common denominator, and it's really, and I know that it is a huge part inside of our CIA and FBI, inside of our military, infiltrated in our military. And I never would have said infiltrated before, but this group, this colonial Mormon faction from the colonies, they're up to no good, y'all. And of course, you see it with Alejandra de la Vega, with her being a double agent, playing both sides. Um, it's just very, very clear that we have a breach of national security on both sides. And Mexican President Scheinbaum is having none of it. None of it. And Maru Campos is facing 40 years in prison. And then we added another 6 years, because looking and really investigating these signings, these meetings and the signings of the treasonous treaty, and they're calling it, some other agreement or whatever. But then Oswaldo Brunda, this is my point that I wanted to make. So he's writing, trying to defend them, right? But while he's writing it, and I think they already corrected it, but he is just throwing them under the bus legally. It's just crazy. Is so how can you defend this? See, it's just you cannot defend it. You cannot defend this treasonous treaty, no matter how much you try, because these are two state officials, two state governors that overstepped their power. They went into the federal section, right? The federal jurisdiction, the federal power. And they did not get congressional approval for what they did. They did not get Mexican approval, federal approval for what they did. And Maru Campos is not only facing 40 years, but she is facing 46 years. And where do those 6 years come from? Well, she can get 6 years in prison for using the Mexican flag. And I love this. I love this. I love this because our flag gets so abused. And the Mexican flag, there are laws governing it. And she cannot have the Mexican flag there while right behind her with the Chihuahuan flag, right? The flag of Chihuahua, the state of Chihuahua, right behind her while she's impersonating a federal official signing a border security policy agreement that entails giving access to her cartel allies, because she's cartel allies, to Mexican um, intelligence as well as American intelligence databases. So the breach is huge, and the violations are huge. And she's really facing 46 years in prison. 46 years, because she wrapped herself around that Mexican flag when she was not allowed to do it. When she was violating what the flag stands for. And I love that. I love that, because people wave that flag, wrap themselves in the American flag, while uh, not loving the Constitution, not obeying the Constitution, not respecting um, our government system, and not respecting the rule of law, deceiving and lying and manipulating and everything. And that's just not allowed with the Mexican flag. I wish it wasn't allowed with the American flag, but it's not allowed with the Mexican flag. And so she can very well get 46 years. 46 years in prison. That would be her entire life. And and one of the things that President Trump pointed out when he had this tit for tat with the Pope is he said the church was weak on crime. And I thought that was really amazing. And everybody knew that he was right. Everybody. Everybody that was being honest knew that he was right. The church is weak on crime, very weak on crime. And do we want to be weak on crime? Because this is our country's that you know is being disrespected. Our flags are being disrespected. Our laws are being disrespected. Crime is being aided and abetted, right? You give cartel access to all of that, they are going to do really well for themselves. I mean, um, it's this is so important, and of course, this is what killed our son. The FBI not being restrained from temptation to be corrupt. And it was Colonel Wetton, the assistant special agent in charge, that leaked our son's name to the cartel, leaked our son's identity to the cartel. And of course, that cartel was right in his unit. So this is a breach of our military installations. Clearly. You think that our military installation is going to be immune to that kind of cartel operation at the border when it is the hub for the warehouses? It is like the main hub for the warehouses, as we learned in Ruben Rocha's indictment. The stash houses, the hub for stash houses, and that the cartel has access into our agencies or into and infiltrate into our agencies, so that they are like James Bonneau Montoya, he's so aligned with the cartel. He might change his name again and name himself James Cartel. you know, um, would he get voted in? I mean, he changed his name to Montoya for the vote. This is so. It is really when you have prosecutors like Cesar Hargi, like Carlos Manuel Salas, like James Bonneau Montoya, when you have them that they are so compromised, um, this is what caused the murder of our son and then the subsequent stealing of his body and cover up. So this is all very personal to us, and that this is being exposed, and that Governor, sorry, oh yeah, that was another thing. The picture that Oswaldo um, Rodriguez Barunda, right, of Al Diario, he elevated Maru Campos higher than President Scheinbaum. In that picture, it's like, really? Wow. Wow. I don't think he did a good job there. I don't think he did a good job with the article or with the illustrations. No, I don't think so. I think he hurt them, and I probably shouldn't have said anything because I don't want him to change it, because Maru Campos needs to be held accountable. And President Scheinbaum is right. She is right. And she is very serious about holding Maru accountable. And as I've heard of, when you go to Mexico City and the government of Mexico, it's all about the president. It's all about the president. So if the president wants it, I think she's going to get her way. So that is really amazing. Let's read some comments now. Okay, sorry, getting so late. Laura, thank you so much for your love and your prayers. And then we have Louis Castro. Hello, praying. Hello to you. Thank you so much for coming on so late. We're at 2 a.m., past 2 a.m. Rebecca, thank you so much. Praying for his family and friends. I can't fathom the heartache to lose your child by murder by those he trusted. It yeah, it's been hell. And I can't say anything else. It's been absolute hell. I came off a flight, same with Beto last month from Denver. Oh wow, Frontier. What are your thoughts on Minerva Torres Shelton? All because of money. Money is the root of all evil. It is. And the thing is, well, with Minerva, she had a podcast with an FBI agent that confirmed that the Walmart mass shooting crime scene was uh, staged, that it wasn't secured for 48 hours. Any crime scene that's not secured for 48 hours. And we know from other sources that it was absolutely staged. Was it a bloody shooting? Yes. But they manipulated. And just like we know now, agents wanted to manipulate, they did manipulate the crime scene in Chihuahua, where the CIA agents were killed. They were trying to remove their bodies and hide their bodies, but they couldn't do it because the fire, the terrain, and also the fire, they couldn't do it. Um, God doesn't mess around. God is no buttercup. If God wants justice, he's going to get justice, right? And so, even if they wanted to try to cover this up and take those bodies and that, it was just it was impossible for them. And so everything has been revealed. It's all in God's timing. And I think the timing is perfect. There's so much going on behind the scenes to reveal this to the public. And yeah, I'm really, um, really just so grateful for the presidents, for the Mexican presidents. Um, Very powerful words that she has had, and hopefully she will absolutely, well, it seems like they're turning into action. They're going to bring in all of the witnesses first, and then they'll bring in Maru Campos. I'll talk more about that tomorrow because that was also a big topic of discussion, how they're going to do this hearing, and I need to get the right wording and everything because I don't really know a lot about the Mexican government and how they pull off this treasonous hearing, right, against Maru Campos. So I'll get the right wording, and but they are not going to let her testify first. They're going to let, I think it's like 50 different people testify first against her, and into the narrative, and then she has to find her way. I guess she has to find a way through that forest. Um, I don't think, I think she's looking at 46 years in prison. Um, and I hope they really get her for um, disrespecting the Mexican flag. I really do. It's just, we've got to get the the esprit de corps for the United States. That's why I have the hat on. Make America great again, right? Get the esprit de corps. We want to make our country great. And of course, we want to make Mexico great. And so that starts with the respect of the symbols of the country and the laws of the land, and respect for President Scheinbaum and respect for President Trump. And this whole treasonous treaty, it really is um, just a slap in the face to President Trump. It really is an insult to President Trump because it is such a border breach. And, his policy is to get the border under control. And he has. I mean, I can't. I can't even, it's just amazing what President Trump does because he gets the border in control, even with these bad actors like Greg Abbott. Even with that, it's just incredible. It's really incredible. So, but can you imagine if he had esprit de corps? If he had esprit de corps, and I'm not saying that you check off on everything, I'm saying just the love for our country and to the love for our Constitution and the love for the laws of the land. Um, I just can't even imagine how prosperous we would be. It would just be incredible because there's so much fraud, waste, and abuse right now, so much theft and embezzlement. Um, yeah, a lot of embezzlement. So this is what Maru Campos and Governor Abbott did was a real insult to President Trump's administration, all the work that they've been putting into securing the border. It's a thorn in the side. It's not like it's the border security is not going to happen. It's still going to happen with President Trump because he's so on top of it all. But uh, it's just a huge thorn in the side. And um, yeah, and President Scheinbaum is not having any other way than federal jurisdiction for border security. And that's amazing. That's really great. So, okay, thank you so much, everybody. I hope that made sense. And I will be back tomorrow. A lot of work behind the scenes. So keep praying for us and keep sharing. The one thing we really ask for everyone to share a few things every day to get the word out what is happening. And we're going to be, well, we're working behind the scenes nonstop. Well, we eat and but we're working hard, y'all. We're working very hard behind the scenes to make a real difference at the border to get our son's remains back and to get accountability for what they did to him. Yeah. Thank you so much. God bless you. And we don't want to be weak on crime. We don't want to be weak on crime. It's so heartbreaking if we're weak on crime. So thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.